Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up in the news tonight, Minister for Grand Bahama announces great news for that island. A former Prime Minister reminisces on the sale of BTC, and the Deputy Prime Minister tours Club Fortuna. Welcome to our News Weekend Edition. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Back in May 2017, officials from the Carnival Cruise Line and the Bahamian government signed an agreement for the construction of a new cruise port facility that was expected to be the largest ever cruise port development for that island. This past week, the Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, announcing what comes as great news for Grand Bahamians.
Have been working in partnership with Carnival Corporation on finalizing all permits and approvals to start the Grand Bahama Port project. Carnival has shared that they are committed to developing a Bahamian experience in this new port. This project will provide opportunities for many entrepreneurs and employment for the Bahamian people, both during the construction period, which is expected to last for 2.5 years, and during the operation of the port, once open, which is now scheduled for November 2024. We have made significant headway in our discussions and are close to finalizing all that is needed to start the project. And with that said, we are now happy to say that we are now targeting a groundbreaking ceremony this coming May 2022.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Chester Cooper, reconfirming his support for the Carnival Grand Port and the potential employment and economic boosts.
We expect this project to begin soon. I will not belabor the point except to say that again, we expect that during the construction phase, there will be an additional 500 jobs at the peak of construction. And this is why we will not tarry in ensuring that we work with this developer to get shovel in the ground.
Police are investigating an armed robbery in the Pinewood Gardens community on Soursop Street. According to the authorities, shortly after 8 p.m. last night, they were called to a residence regarding a shooting incident. On the arrival of the first officers, they met a female suffering from gunshot wounds. The victim was transported to the hospital for medical attention, and her condition is listed as guarded. Police say initial investigations revealed that as the victim arrived at the residence, she was approached by two armed male suspects who demanded her blue Suzuki Swift. She attempted to evade the suspects, but was shot in the face. They then took the vehicle and made good their escape. Police are appealing to anyone with any information to come forward. Meantime, in his mid-year budget communication statement, Prime Minister Philip Davis announced that for the first time in a long time, BTC paid the government a $24.5 million dividend. Former Prime Minister Perry Christie reflected on the sale of BTC and what his government tried to do to make things right to put the corporation back in good standing with the Bahamian people.
It was very clear understanding that the voting shares would still be resident with the owner of the minority shares, that is the 49% owner, Cable and Wireless, would still have the voting power as the owner. We have the economic interest. So what I negotiated was an economic interest, and they evidenced the importance of it by beginning by putting $1 million in the bank. We formed a bank account, we put $1 million in the bank account. And we also had to agree, we arrived at an agreement where the money would be used for certain specific areas in our national development.
Christie said the process wasn't the easiest one, but he will continue to monitor it closely.
Liberty came on to buy the shares, big American company, and thereafter, it seemed to be they were having withering competition going on, and the question is, where is BTC today, and how well it's doing?
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper continuing to express cautious optimism about the tourism industry and overall economic growth for the island of Grand Bahama. While touring the Viva Wyndham Club Fortuna Resort earlier today, he noted that the government is diligently working to increase airlift to the island at an affordable rate, as well as expanding the offerings of activities and room capacity for future guests.
What we are working to do really is to move the economy of Grand Bahama. We believe that a rising tide will float all boats, and therefore we are looking to see how we can ramp up the overall activity, how we can improve the infrastructure, how we can improve our own hotel to ensure that there is the capacity and then there's activity. There is a lot of opportunity, and once we get the activity going, once business travelers return, that would mean not just touristic travel but also business travel. That will improve occupancy overall. When we improve occupancy, we improve employment. So Club Fortuna will benefit, other resorts on the island will benefit, and we are cautiously optimistic about the future of tourism and business activity generally for Grand Bahama.
On another note, Cooper says he will meet with downtown property owners next week to discuss the way forward, after expressing his dissatisfaction with the state of the city center, calling much of it an eyesore. Cooper says the status quo cannot remain as hundreds of millions of dollars are pumped into areas that are neglected and in disrepair. He commended the Downtown Nassau partnership for what he says is a tremendous job in trying to correct an incredibly difficult issue. But Cooper says, putting it bluntly, the state of the historic area is disgraceful and embarrassing.
While there is no question that the new cruise port will greatly enhance downtown with more than $200 million investments, we are by no means satisfied with the state of downtown. To put it frankly, much of it is an eyesore, and the old world charm that we have tried to preserve for decades has been lost amongst the dilapidated buildings and the lack of proper structure and the lack of city management.
Still to come on our news, what's happening to Christopher Columbus? Social workers have united to change their environment. And later in our newscast, Generation Next is proving that women have broken industry barriers. That's coming up when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. Social workers across the country coming together to form the Bahamas Social Workers Association. Assistant Director in the Department of Social Services, Paula Marshall, issuing a call to all social workers to join the association as they seek to spread awareness about the importance of social work.
It's important that social workers make it clear to both the government and to the country how important their role is in the outworking of all the government's plans and for the benefit of all the people in the country, because we've played such a vital role that is really not well understood or accepted or given the credit for in the course of the years that we've been in existence.
Professor at the University of the Bahamas, Dr. Andy Lang, says the profession has been plagued with a myriad of issues for many years.
They relate to issues such as salary disparities, the regularization of workers, title protection. There's the issue of licensure, okay, and protocols relating to the many social impacts that the Bahamas is facing. So over the next couple of weeks, as we move from beyond this point, our main focus will be to, like I would have mentioned, to hold a nationwide general election to elect and install our slate of executive officers committees and subcommittees. Each of those committees and subcommittees will then be endowed with certain responsibilities.
In recent times, cases of domestic violence have captured the media's spotlight as the national debate continues on the issue of gender-based violence and marital rape. Dr. Lang says addressing the issue is top priority for the association.
The majority of instances, these incidents have been tragic. Okay, and as social workers, we are trained and we are equipped, we possess the skill sets to assist communities, to assist individuals, to assist families with dealing and coping with these tragic aftermaths. Okay, so going forward, it's a matter of getting ourselves formalized, electing our officers, and then to begin tackling some of these vexing issues.
Speaking of vexing,
a subcommittee will also be formed to address matters in the school system. And he says the association plans to explore options such as foster care and adoption.
Temporary placements, etc. And so these are areas, these are definitely areas that we need to highlight, that we need to underscore, that we need to educate the public on. Okay, there are also a number of individuals in our community who might be interested in adopting a child or fostering a child, okay, and they might not know what that process entails. Okay, so going forward, that will be one of the areas that we will be addressing as we advance as an association.
Making a decision on what should happen to the vandalized Columbus statue is not a priority for government, according to OPM Press Secretary Clint Watson. The statue was vandalized by a man back in October of last year and has been covered with blue tarp ever since. Watson says it will be up to Cabinet to decide what happens to the statue.
Minister Davis is really big on consultation with his colleagues. And so even if there's a decision that he personally shares, it does not bear the end reward if his cabinet colleagues differ. And that's why he wanted to carry it to them to see what the general consensus is on that. And so I'm sure that whatever his personal views are, whatever cabinet decides is what will stand in the end.
The incident involving the statue, which sits in front of Government House, sparked debate over the appropriateness of colonial relics. Some historians argue that colonial symbols like the Columbus statue belong in museums where they can be properly contextualized. The counter-argument to that is that we need to acknowledge our history, whether good or bad. As it stands now, though, Watson says government is concerned with other matters.
So it's just a matter of prioritizing what has been important for us. And what has been important for us is getting people back to work, keeping people safe with the COVID protocols, ensuring that people can manage in these difficult times financially. Those are priorities. And so the statue, while it's important, as you can imagine, won't take precedence over those other issues. And that's what the administration has been busy doing for the 6 months, is getting the country going, getting people addressed, people back to work, trying to find solutions to pressing matters. But that's on the agenda, and it'll get dealt with.
At some point, we are sure Mr. Columbus will be addressed. The Chevening Scholarship is the United Kingdom's international awards program aimed at developing global leaders. In existence since 1983, it's helped tens of thousands, of professionals obtain higher education. 2015 recipient Dominique Nottage is a counsel and attorney at law and shares the impact of the scholarship.
Chevening is a lot more than just a scholarship. It gives you a boost to your professional brand, and you also build relationships with persons across different jurisdictions. You build relationships with your professors, and it's a way for you to build your confidence in your chosen profession, and it gives you the tools and the resources necessary to advance yourself professionally. And again, I can't say enough how valuable the network is. Even in the Bahamas, as we are able to connect with one another across professions.
2020 recipient Shanae Strawn earned her master's in producing film and television and is currently pursuing her passion in that field. Strawn says that in addition to the top-tier education, she was also afforded a unique cultural experience.
Also in networking, you get to travel, traveling to France and to throughout the United Kingdom as well, and Europe also. And Chevening offers great workshops, great events that you can also network with and gain just cultural experiences and just a vast array of just experience.
Both women say they are grateful for the opportunity to study in the United Kingdom, and they are encouraging more Bahamians to take advantage of the opportunity.
The application cycle opens every August and it closes in November, so you have about 3 months to complete your application. Interviews are in the spring, around February, March, April, and then you are informed of whether or not you are successful in about May or June. But it's an opportunity that more Bahamians need to take advantage of. It's a full scholarship. They pay for airplane, they pay for tuition, they pay for your monthly stipend to support your living expenses. They give you travel grants.
When our news comes back from the break, we're going to take a look in on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And Central Bank has some good news. We have the details when our news returns. As Vladimir Putin and his military machinery continue to pound Ukraine, killing thousands of innocent citizens, Russia's military said Saturday it had used a hypersonic missile in combat for the first time. Clearly, Russia has stepped up its invasion of Ukraine. One should remember that the country has threatened to use nuclear weapons to win this battle. In leaked communication, Russia seemed to have been reaching out to China for military aid and funding. Both China and Russia have denied this. U.S. President Joe Biden, in a recent conversation with China's President Xi Jinping, warned that there will be consequences if his country assists Russia. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to defend its country, pushing back Russian troops determined to control major Ukrainian cities without success. The world continues to watch as Russia unleashes its wrath on a country which many thought would have folded by now. And on to some lighter news. The Central Bank of the Bahamas has won the Best New Banknote Series Award for the Crisp Evolution family of banknotes. This was announced this past week at the High Security Print in Latin America Conference in Mexico. Each year, Reconnaissance International accepts nominations for significant achievements in banknote design and innovation. Industry professionals then vote in 3 categories: Best Banknote, Best New Series, and Best Commemorative Note. The public can expect future adaptations to its banknotes to further enhance security and durability and to refine designs over time. The central bank thanks the public for its continued support and its positive feedback on the new banknote family. And still to come, our Generation Next segment features a woman who is making waves in a predominantly male industry. Seems like it's time to put away those sweaters. Weather is coming up when our news weekend edition returns. Welcome back to our News Weekend edition. We can definitely say that spring is in the air. Let's take a look at weather. And now to our Generation Next segment. 30-year-old Sanadia Smith is literally breaking ground, and she's breaking barriers as the first certified female PC-2000 operator in the Bahamas. Smith began working at Bahama Rock in 2011, first in the clerical department. But by 2014, she began training to be a truck driver.
I think I was inspired from a young age. My father used to work at the Freeport Harbor Company, and he would carry me along with him during work hours. And, you know, I was fascinated by some of the equipment that used to be in the area. So coming here at Bahama Rock, it was like, wow, you know, it gave me that wow experience that I'm now able to go ahead and take it on.
This trailblazer says she's pretty handy with a variety of heavy equipment.
Apart from doing the haul truck, which would be a 100-ton haul truck, I was the first female PC-2000 excavator operator. I've also had the privilege of learning other equipment. So, for example, the dozer, a smaller excavator, and then you have the loader.
Now, despite crushing it in a male-dominated field, Smith says it's something she really loves, and her male counterparts do their part in making it a comfortable environment.
The one thing that I like about working here at Bahama Rock is, as a female, we get to now implement or, you know, feel like we're included rather than being excluded. So that's the part that I love. And then working here amongst a male-dominant environment, I would say they actually make us feel like family. So to them, it's not she is a girlfriend or, you know, a significant other, but they make us feel like sisters. So that's something that I really like, and, you know, everybody looks out for one another.
Smith has this advice for any female thinking about entering a traditionally male-dominated industry.
Take advantage of the opportunity. Like I say, with me and Raquel, we basically create an environment of inclusion rather than exclusion. So it's not something, it's not a job that's incapable, especially by women, but it's a job that can be done. So I would advise, you know, any female who feels the need or the urge, you know, to want to take on work in an industrial field, I would advise them to take the chance.
Some good news as we've just celebrated International Women's Day. It's good to see women making a difference in every industry. Kudos to Sanadia Smith. And speaking of women doing great things, a big congratulations to our Rev Ambassador, Shanae Miller-Weibo, on her win at the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade. Miller-Weibo crossing the finish line in a time of 50.31 seconds to secure the gold in the women's 400-meter finals. And with that said, that's it for our News Weekend edition. Thank you for tuning in. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Megan Shepard. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.